Local news, national news, even feel-good news. Delivering the topics that are relevant to you.
That's why I listen to Joe. He covers it all.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO.
So we're in that thing again, that predicament again, where the show is starting and I'm loaded for bear. I've got so much that I want to talk about tonight. I've got so much that I want to share with you. But the WDBO Interactive Radar is absolutely lit up like a Christmas tree. I mean, we've got so much rain and storms tonight. I'm just sitting here waiting for any one of these to go severe at any moment, and we'll activate the WDBO Storm Center. And then, of course, we're going to have all kinds of traffic problems, much like we did yesterday at this time. Man, this morning we had epic traffic problems for morning drive. Now, afternoon drive, we're going to have some more rain-related problems, to be sure. So we're going to keep a real close eye on the weather for you. While at the same time, hopefully I'll be able to share a whole lot of compelling and exciting content with you as well. Otherwise, we'll have to go back to talking about SIT sprinklers or whatever it was. Oh, can I tell you? So do you guys remember yesterday? Laurel, do you remember yesterday?
Vaguely.
Okay, and Paul, do you remember yesterday? I mean, you guys remember yesterday, right?
Kinda.
Okay,
yeah,
so
it's a fog.
So yesterday we had a brief conversation about men, German men mostly, who sit down to pee, and I have a call every other week with our talent coach, a consultant, if you will, and my call with him was this morning. And I got to tell you, I woke up with the greatest amount of anxiety thinking, oh, crap, I've got my call with our consultant today. I hope he didn't listen to last night's show about German men who sit down to pee. And the first thing out of his mouth was, well, I listened to last night's show. And I'm like, oh, no. He loved it. He absolutely loved it. So I thought we would do it again tonight. We'll just talk about German men who sit down to pee.
No.
No, okay, we'll talk about
Nine.
I learned all of my German from Hogan's Heroes when I was a kid, watching reruns of Hogan's Heroes. Und step on it! So, if you're driving on the on State Route 408 right now, do we have any problems on the 408 right now, Paul Cross, by the way? 408? Hang on, I just lost Paul Cross's voice.
Yeah, no, I got you. We're very, very slow eastbound all the way from I-4 to the 417.
Oh, good. That works out really well. So as you're driving on the 408 right now, I want you to observe right there. Gosh, what exit is that going to be by? It'll be by. Oh, it's coming up on the Good Homes exit. So it's either just before, or just after the Good Homes exit, depending on which direction you're driving. If you're going east, it is just after the Good Homes exit. If you're going west, it's just before the Good Homes exit. But have you guys noticed the new tree? The new tree right there off the 408? You don't.
I haven't.
Right, because no one would notice if someone planted a new tree, right? But see, it's not a tree. It's only disguised as a tree.
Oh.
It's actually a cell phone tower that's disguised as a tree. Now, right after that, or again before that, depending on if you're going east or west, there is a church called Church of the Cross. And their giant cross is also a cell phone tower. I don't know if you guys know that, but if you ever see churches with giant crosses out front, 9 times out of 10, those will be cell phone towers that are hidden inside the cross. And then the church makes a little bit of money for leasing that space to the cell phone company. And in return, the church gets a big, beautiful cross that's out in front of their church. And then on the other side of the fake cell phone tree now is a giant, quote unquote, flagpole that has no flag on it. By the way, it's got one of those balls at the top, and I know there's a name for that, but it's got the ball at the top of the flagpole for where it's supposed to have a flag go up. But the flag rarely flies on that. Besides, you'd have to have just an absolutely monster flag for it to not be dwarfed by the size of the flagpole. But that also is not a flagpole. It is a cell phone tower. So right there on the 408, which is going to be on the north side of the 408, there are 3 consecutive cell phone towers, one dressed up as a cross, one dressed up as a tree, that's brand new, and then one dressed up as a flagpole. Who do these cell phone companies think they're fooling? And I got to tell you, I understand the concept of dressing up a cell phone tower like it's a tree, but it's not fooling anyone, and it looks stupid. It looks obnoxious. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense because it's not the same height as the trees around it. I mean, this thing shoots, and this tree is planted right behind a strip mall, right behind a little shopping center. So that's not where a tree would be anyway. If they could even move that a little bit closer into the forest that's nearby, at least it might blend in a little bit. But I got to tell you, the cell phone towers disguised as trees are the absolute worst. And I just don't understand why they keep doing that, why cell phone companies keep trying to disguise those things with as trees. At least with a cross, and I know not everybody is Christian. I appreciate the cross as a Christian, but at least as a cross, there are a lot of people who drive by there and haven't the slightest idea that even is a cell phone tower. There are probably people who drive by the flagpole and think, oh, it's just a flagpole, and they don't have the flag up on it. No, that's a cell phone tower also. But you drive by that tree, and you just think, what an abomination that is. What a silly-looking thing that is to have behind a strip mall right there off of the 408. So especially if you're in the 408, if you're backed up on traffic right now, you're not moving anyway. 844-580-WDBO. It's 844-580-9326. You can use the open mic and the WDBO app. We're going to get to some really important stuff coming up here tonight. Of course, as Governor DeSantis is expected to throw his hat into the ring for the GOP nomination, we're going to get to that. Target, the store Target, supposedly had an emergency meeting so that they don't Bud Light themselves, to use their words, to not Bud Light themselves. Bud Light still not able to get over their controversy. So we'll get into that coming up in a while as well. Plus, our Surgeon General has a warning about social media dangers for children. We're going to get to that. You can hit me up in the open mic about the cell phone towers. Let me know if you think, if you'd rather a tree, a cross, or a flagpole. What about you, Laurel? Tree, cross, or a flagpole for your cell phone towers? You've got three choices. You weren't even listening.
It's tree. We have one in Claremont, too, and it looks equally dumb, but I appreciate it every time I see it.
Wait, you do appreciate it?
Yeah, I don't know, just because I'm like, there's that dumb tree that's not a tree.
Do I hear someone's cell phone ringing?
Yes.
Whose phone is that?
I think it's Paul's.
Paul?
My cell phone's ringing?
Is it?
Not mine.
Someone's cell phone is ringing.
My cell phone isn't ringing.
Why was the only one? Why was I the only one hearing it? But someone's cell phone was ringing.
Not mine.
It's not mine.
That's really weird.
And you are the king of hearing things in the background. I must say,
I hear everything.
You truly are the king of that.
I do. I had a neighbor for a while whose smoke alarm battery had gone out, and you know how smoke alarms chirp. And I literally went down to the front desk and I was like, "Can you help me figure out which neighbor I need to go to?"
So you pointed that out in videos once, and now I can't unhear it. Every video I see has a chirp in the background. And I'm like, their fire alarm, their detector.
Right.
Change it.
I heard, and I don't remember the radio show, but I was listening to a radio show, and I'm certain it was here on WDBO because this is pretty much the only radio station I listen to. And a so-called expert was being interviewed about something. And in the background, I could hear the chirp of the fire alarm in the background, which to me completely discounted the expertise that the person was sharing about whatever it was. Because I'm like, if you can sit in your home and either you're not hearing that chirping sound or you think that's a normal sound for your house to make, I mean, it just blows my mind. I don't understand how people cannot hear those things.
Do you know that if it gets really cold, sometimes they'll chirp like they're low on battery, but they're just cold?
I did not.
Yeah, it happened in my house. And then
that.
we asked the neighbors, and they're like, yeah, it's just because it's cold.
Why is it so cold in your house?
This was months ago. This is during the winter time.
When you have the air conditioner set at 50. Let's go to Pat in the WG Winter Garden. Pat, you're on WDBO. Hi.
Hey, Joe. Your observation of the fake trees is actually the result of local zoning boards and politicians, and oftentimes a compromise between those who do not wish to have a cell tower located in that site and the carriers. There aren't any carriers that intentionally put those up unless they're forced to.
You make great points, and I didn't think about that. And of course, that's the case, that they're going to be highly regulated and too many cooks in the kitchen, if you will, that make those kinds of decisions. Do you work in the business?
I do, for the last, more than 2.5 decades.
So what would explain then? I mean, I think maybe you just did explain it, but I mean, why would we, in that short, 1 mile length of the 408 there, do we have one flagpole, one tree, and one cross?
Oftentimes, they call them stealth sites, can only their capacity is a single carrier. So those 3 sites may represent 3 different carriers.
How interesting. So then is the opposite also true? Are there towers where there are multiple carriers on the tower?
Oh, yes. Sometimes 15 or 20.
And presumably those are bigger than the flagpole-looking ones. Those are the really big ones.
That's correct.
Yeah, that are very wide as well.
That's correct. And the sites are chosen for coverage and capacity.
Yeah.
And certainly anything along the 408 corridor requires a lot of capacity.
I could imagine that. And look, I appreciate the fact that we're getting more cell coverage, no matter the carrier. But it's just such an obnoxious look. I can't believe anybody would vote for or require a so-called stealth thing to look like a tree that doesn't fit in with any trees surrounding it.
Well, I can tell you, having been to hundreds of local hearings about citing telecom sites, cell sites, you'd be surprised at the resistance to having coverage, and that's often the result of a compromise or a decision by a zoning board.
I love this show. I love the audience of this show because y'all know so much and can solve so many issues. Pat, thank you so much, man. I'm so glad you called in.
Hey, my pleasure.
And drive
Thanks,
safe. It's quite rainy. I don't need to tell you that. You're out there driving in the rain. We're going to get a traffic update for you coming up in just a couple of moments, so hang on for that. 844-580-WDBO. It's 844-580-9326. You can use the open mic in the WDBO app. We had that news earlier today of the man who drove a U-Haul into a gate that adjoins the White House. And the suspect, an 18-year-old, is under arrest. He is charged with attempting to kidnap or kill the president. I don't think he ever would have got close. I will tell you that when I saw that it was a U-Haul truck, I mean, the first thing I thought of was all of that missing ammonium nitrate. You remember the train that was going from Cheyenne, Wyoming to California that had ammonium nitrate, 62,000 pounds of ammonium nitrate, and suddenly all that ammonium nitrate is missing. I couldn't help but to think of the Murrah Federal Building in Oklahoma City. That was ammonium nitrate that blew that thing up. And the amount of ammonium nitrate that is missing from that train car is something like 13 times as much ammonium nitrate as was used to blow up the Murrah Federal Building in Oklahoma City back in 1996, I want to say it was. But anyhow, fortunately, the U-Haul truck was empty. It didn't have any explosives in it. It did have a dolly in it, and that was all, which, you kind of expect to have a dolly in the back of a U-Haul truck. I'm Joe Kelley. We will continue, and we're going to get into the Surgeon General's warnings about social media and your kids. We'll get into that next. Stay with us here on WDBO.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along. Which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/post. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. at ZipRecruiter.com/post. That's ZipRecruiter.com/post. ZipRecruiter.com/post.
This is WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's news and talk.
So I just got this open mic.
There's a small passenger plane in the middle of Highway 50 that went down, just so you guys know.
We have been reporting that all day. That went down this morning, and we have been reporting on that all day. But what that speaks to is someone who hasn't been listening to the radio. They're at work during the day, and they get into their car, and they're like, oh, my gosh, I just drove by, and there's a plane. Clearly, the plane is still there because it went down this morning. It's not flyable. They can't fly it back out. They've got to put it on a tow truck and tow it out. So that is why that plane is evidently still sitting there. I really would have thought that the tow truck would have got there sooner, but maybe with the rain, they're going to just wait for the grass to dry up a little bit before they send a tow truck out into that. We're also talking about the new cell phone tower out on the 408 near Good Homes that I would say looks like a tree, but truly it doesn't look like a tree. PC, what about that plane?
I was going to say that once a plane goes down, it also takes a whole lot of investigation. It's not just get the wrecker out there, put it on the back, and take off. They thoroughly go through that. So it's going to be there for a while. I haven't mentioned it too much because we have mentioned it today. It happened this morning, and there is a lane open on each side. So cars are getting by. It's just kind of weird to see a plane on State Road 50.
And it's not like it's in downtown, or it's not like it's on a busy stretch. I mean, and I know 50 is a busy road, but out there towards Christmas, way out on the east side of Orange County, is not the busiest stretch of Colonial. So
right, and it's still open, but it's just got a little now eye candy, I guess, for people to see a plane in the middle of the roadway.
It is a little weird, no doubt. Talking about cell phone towers.
Joe Kelley, you bigot.
Huh?
Those poor cell phone towers should be able to identify as whatever they want. You leave them alone.
I've messed with the wrong people.
You're talking about the great Florida evergreen. At least they could have made it look like a giant palm tree.
Right? I mean, at least they could make it look like a tree that we have. Trees that blend in.
Claremont has a couple of these towers that look like trees. And aesthetically speaking, I prefer to sit in my backyard and see a tree or what resembles a tree rather than a giant metal cell tower that catches my eye.
Yeah, all right, fair enough. We to each his own, right?
They call those big, large trees Verizon pines.
What a great name, Verizon Pines. I wish I would have thought of that. Even though they're not all Verizon owned, I still like that. Verizon, it almost sounds quaint, doesn't it? It sounds like lovely, like an old redwood. Oh, it's the Verizon Pines. My name is Joe Kelley. Coming up next, the big warnings from the Surgeon General about the dangers of social media and our kids. That's next on The Joe Kelley Show.
This is WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's news and talk. Insightful.
You tell the truth from your point of view.
Entertaining.
Man, that guy is a lot taller than he sounds on the radio.
And engaging.
When we hear you on the radio, it's a good thing.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO.
My name is Joe Kelley. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. The number is 844-580-WDBO, 844-580-9326. You can use the open mic and the WDBO app. Hey, make sure you download that WDBO app because that is what you need in order to win the $1,000 in the WDBO payroll payout. You have to have the app. And then when you hear the key word like you did at 5 o'clock, then you just enter that word into the proper place there in the app, which it's self-evident. When you open the app, you'll see it. And they just enter the word, and then hopefully you'll be getting a phone call within the next 30 minutes or so, the following 30 minutes, and you can claim your $1,000 prize, which is awesome, just for listening to WDBO. We were talking about cell phone towers, and I had another open mic that I thought made sense. Because remember, we had the guy that said that those cell phone towers that are disguised like trees are called Verizon Pines. Evidently not all of them.
Hey, how about AT&T?
Oh, AT&T. Why didn't we think of that? Verizon Pine and AT&T. Those are.
How about Tree Mobile?
Look, we have renamed all of the towers. Now suddenly I like them because of the cute names that we have for them. So All right, so our Surgeon General, Dr. Vivek Murthy, U.S. Surgeon General, is calling for immediate action by tech companies and lawmakers to protect kids and adolescents, their mental health on social media. This is interesting that the Surgeon General calling for immediate action. Oh, now you're going to call for immediate action on social media and children and their mental health? Now? What's the point in having immediate action now? I mean, the damage is done. The immediate action probably should have been done some time ago. But the Surgeon General has some tips for parents and for moms and dads. I would love to hear from you on how you manage your children's social media activity, and even like their video games, gaming. When they're used to be back when. I'm not quite old enough to remember this, but I know that there was a time when people played video games and they weren't interactive with other players around the world. I'm not old enough to play games like Pong and stuff like that where you don't do that, right, everybody? That's right, Joe. You're not old enough. So now they're warning us of social media dangers for our kids. And the Surgeon General has some tips. Do you want to hear the tips? And again, moms and dads, I want to hear how you manage this with your kids. 844-580-WDBO. It's 844-580-9326. You can use the open mic in the WDBO app. But one of the things he suggests is reach out for help. If you or someone you know is being negatively affected by social media, reach out to a trusted friend or adult for help. Check out the American Academy of Pediatrics guidance on social media. That's one of the tips there from Dr. Vivek Murthy. Also, create boundaries. Limit the use of phones, tablets, and computers for at least 1 hour before bedtime and through the night to make sure that they get enough sleep. Keep meal times and in-person gatherings device-free to help build social media bonds and engage in two-way conversations with others. Connect with people in person and make unplugged interactions a daily priority. I often talk about my 3 children. I actually have 4 children, and my 4th child is 34 years old. He's your age, Laurel, and I don't want to ask what your age is on the radio.
33. He'll be 33.
All right, so he's 33, and forgive me for not knowing exactly how old my son is. He and I were estranged for a while. We adopted him when he was 11 from the state of Texas. He was in the state foster care system, and so that was tough enough. Raising a child that you didn't even meet until he was 11. And there are bonding issues and all kinds of stuff. And I don't want to get bogged down into that. But the biggest dust-up that he and I ever had was about his cell phone and the use of social media and games and stuff like that on his cell phone. And I took away his cell phone for bad behavior, for inappropriate behavior. And that night, he jumped out his window, second-story window, and ran away. And once I finally caught up with him, I said, first and foremost, please don't jump out your window from the second story. You could really hurt yourself. The door has locks, but that's to keep people from the outside from getting in. It's not to keep people that are in this inside from getting out. So I said, if you are so determined to run away, please use the door and don't jump out your window. But that's how kids are. I mean, if you take away a kid's phone, if you take away their social media, you take away their TikTok, you take away their Snapchat, you take away, kids flip out at that now. And so for Dr. Vivek Murthy to say we need immediate action, we are well past immediate action on cell phones and video games and the like. Let's check that triple team traffic. Paul Cross.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO.
I love this comment from Patrick in our chat room on the WDBO Facebook page. Patrick writes, a lot of us parents way ahead of the Surgeon General. Yeah, I think you have to be. They think social media is bad. Try being a Call of Duty lobby. I'm not sure I know what Call of Duty is, but I don't know if I know what the word lobby means in that context.
It's when you're waiting for a match or waiting for a game, you sit in this like common area online.
Oh, like the green room.
Yeah, and then everybody can talk to one another, and it's a lot of insults and mom jokes and
kids in those groups are brutal. I mean, the language is brutal there. And if you think your kids, if your kids are playing video games with others across the world, across the United States, even across Florida, they are getting exposed to a plethora of words that you don't want them to hear. They're getting exposed to a plethora of concepts that you certainly don't want them being exposed to which they're being exposed. So, that's bad. And Laurel, you've got stepchildren. You've got and they're of that video game age and dependence on social media and stuff like that.
Yeah. So our 14-year-old,
it's a daily headache, isn't it?
Oh yeah. Well, first of all, she's not allowed to have social media, but still, she has Discord, which we've had to ban for multiple reasons. When we try to take her phone away at night, so she'll be up texting her friends too late, right? We've caught her up way past her bedtime. So we've begun taking the phone away at night. At 10:30, we're like, phone. And every night it's a fight. Why? Why can't I have it? What?
Yeah.
What? I don't understand it. And we're like, this happens all the time. Why don't you get it yet? But it's like you're taking their arm away from them.
Right.
You take the cell phone away from them. It's unbelievable.
Which I think speaks to the dependency. It speaks to the addiction.
Oh.
I think their young minds become addicted to, and there's been studies about this, so it's not like I'm making this up, but these kids get addicted to the thrill. They get addicted to being online with their friends.
1,000%. We went to Disney Springs last week, and my husband said to the 14-year-old, how about you leave that phone in the car? Why? Because we're going to go do something. We're going to go be with friends. You do not need your phone right now. Let's be in the moment. Oh, my gosh. The whole time we complain. The whole time. I wish I could check my phone right now.
Yeah.
I wish I could have my phone right now. We're like, see, you're addicted to it. There's nothing going on that you need your phone right now. Oh, I don't understand why I can't have it. It's craziness.
It is indeed. Moms and dads, how do you deal with your kids when it comes to their screen time? 844-580-WDBO. It's 844-580-9326. Or use the open mic in the WDBO app if your kids are grown and long have gone away. Perhaps you've got thoughts on what parents should do in these scenarios. Maybe you have an idea that we haven't thought of. Another suggestion here from our Surgeon General, Vivek Murthy. Again, he's issued some warnings today about the dangers of social media for youth. He says, be cautious about what you share. That's a big one, and I don't know that kids fully understand that. Personal information about you has value. Be selective with what you post and share online and with whom, as it is often public and can be stored permanently. If you aren't sure you should be posting something, it's usually best don't. Yeah, when in doubt, don't post it. And some kids these days, it is not even remotely uncommon for kids to send inappropriate pictures of themselves or others back and forth to one another, which is not only illegal, but it is ill-advised. It's immoral. It's corruptible to these children's minds as they grow up. It's a cesspool. It's a sewer that is just being pumped directly into our kids' minds. My name is Joe Kelley. It's the Joe Kelley Show. You can join me at 844-580-WDBO. It's 844-580-9326. Use the open mic in the WDBO app. We'll take your calls and comments coming up straight ahead.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. Your next chance to win the WDBO payroll payout of $1,000 happens tomorrow at 8 a.m. during Orlando's morning news. Just listen for the keyword and then tap the payroll payout button in the WDBO app.
$1,000.
$1,000.
Get paid just for listening to WDBO.
This is awesome.
Hey, this is Ben, and you think social media is bad now. Just imagine AI-powered social media and ChatGPT-powered social media. Our kids are going to be bombarded. All of us are going to be bombarded by so much that we don't even know how bad it is yet.
You know, and we talked about this last night. We were talking about the OnlyFans pages. So there is a phenomenon now, and this just, it shouldn't surprise, nothing should surprise any of us ever. But there is a phenomenon now where women on OnlyFans, so women who are doing pornography, will create an AI version of themselves and sell subscriptions of an AI version of themselves that will do anything that the subscriber asks it to do. It is mind-boggling, the garbage that is out there on the internet right now, and our kids are exposed to it every day. Eileen is joining us from Merritt Island. Hi, Eileen. You're on WDBO.
Hi, Mr. Kelley. How are you?
I'm great, thank you.
Good. I'm calling in because of the discussion you were having about social media, and I have a 13-year-old and a 15-year-old.
Oh, you're right in the thick of it.
Oh, I sure am, and I have told them I wanted them to not use Snapchat anymore, and they're both in agony, thinking that the world is going to end because that's the only way that their friends get in touch with each other or communicate, and that's all they do. And how are they going to stay in the know and all of that? It's tough, and I'm guilty because when Snapchat first came out, I was like playing with it with the face changes and all that.
It seems so fun and innocent.
Because it was fun, yeah. And then I didn't realize that it morphed into some communication thing.
Yep.
And now I know it has, and I hate it. I absolutely hate it because once you see it, I guess it's gone, or you can't pull it up again, or something like that.
Yeah, and for moms and dads, if you don't know this, Snapchat really, as Eileen described, started out as this sweet little innocent thing that had fun filters for kids, a little bit like TikTok even. But my kids are on Snapchat also, but they're not snapping, or they're not posting content. They strictly use it for communication. So instead of texting one another, they Snapchat each other in the Snapchat chat room, if that's not redundant. But you're right. That's exactly what they're doing there.
Right. But you can't ever pull it back up again, I don't think. Or I think it's just once you post or snap somebody, you can't get it back again.
Yeah, that's
like that.
Yeah, that's how I honestly, I've not been on Snapchat in a while, and I don't know to the extent that is still the way that it is. Eileen, thank you so much. I sure appreciate you calling.
Isn't it funny how now the Surgeon General wants to get involved once Elon Musk took over Twitter and started spreading the truth? However, during the pandemic, it was pretty bad on our children, and you didn't hear a peep from them. Kind of weird.
Can you hear the rain falling on his car? I could hear the rain falling on his car. You know, and that's why I said, for the Surgeon General to say that this requires immediate action. Immediate action? Where the hell were you like 5 years ago? I mean, if you wanted immediate action on social media, you're way too late for immediate action. You can take action now, but it is not going to be immediate. My name is Joe Kelley. Coming up, we're also going to talk about Governor DeSantis. Going to make it official tomorrow night at about this time. We'll get your thoughts on that coming up next on The Joe Kelley Show.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. Now, WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580. Triple Team Traffic.
Got a multi-vehicle crash I-4 eastbound before World Drive. That's causing all kinds of trouble through there as you pass the Disney exits. Another crash I-4 eastbound, this one in the express lanes with the right lane blocked near Princeton. And that crash on McCullough Road eastbound after Alafaya Trail 434, right by the campus of UCF. The left lane is now closed, so they've opened up the one right lane to get traffic through there.
Hey, Paul.
From the WDBO Triple
Paul,
Team. Yep.
Just got this open mic, and you may have just reported this, but this literally just came in, so I wanted to share this open mic with you.
There is a horrible, terrible accident on the 417 northbound right past University. It's really horrible. Traffic is backed up for miles.
You probably mentioned that.
No, I didn't. Oh. I didn't mention that yet.
Well, then we'll add that to our list.
Well, yeah, add that to the list of everything. She said it was near University? Yep, that's what she said.
There is a horrible, terrible accident on the 417 northbound right past University.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, let me look into that. I'll keep you updated on that next time we hit traffic in just a few minutes.
Hit your sponsor and we'll get out.
Yep, the sponsor is no good. I just didn't have one. So from the WDBO Triple Team Traffic Center, I'm Paul Cross.
This is WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's news and talk. Breaking news to lively debates, covering the issues that matter to you.
I make it a point to listen to Joe Kelley when I need to fully understand what's happening in the news.
Now, the Joe Kelley Show on Orlando's news and talk, WDBO.
All right, I got to caution you. There was a guy who lost an arm to an alligator. His arm was ripped off in Port Charlotte Sunday night. 23-year-old guy. He was attacked at a pond behind the Banditos Bar in Port Charlotte. I'm sure that is a lovely establishment. The Banditos Bar. And the guy claims, the 23-year-old claims that the line for the bathroom was too long, so he went out to the lake to use the bathroom. I have a sneaky suspicion based upon a number of different factors that he, in fact, was squatting and going number two and wasn't going to whiz by the lake, but the other thing. And I don't want to get into a discussion like we had last night. So don't call us about, what was the word again? Pritz Linklers or something like that, Art Linkletters. If there is video of it, it is grotesque and graphic, so much so that I won't post it for everybody to see, but it is in the comment thread. If you want to look for the live video on our Facebook page right now, and you'll see the live video with Laurel and Paul Cross and me, and it's in the comment thread if you want to be able to see that video. But I will caution you, it is grotesque. The gator snapped off his arm just below the shoulder, and if I describe it, is it too graphic for me to describe? I mean, because there's exposed bone, and then he's rolling around, and he's got sand on the exposed bone. I mean, it's gross. I regret that I watched it. So I would just caution you that it is gross, but it speaks to the dangers of every single body of water in the state of Florida. That if you're new to Florida, if you're one of the new, 20,000 people to Florida and you're thinking, la, 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 there's no alligators. The adage in Florida is, if there is a body of water, there is an alligator in it. Make that the assumption that there is an alligator in the body of water. There is a moment of comedy, if you will, in the video as well, because like the guy that's tending to him has a cigarette dangling out of his mouth. You can tell they just came out of the Banditos Bar. I would hazard a guess that some bad choices were made that night, Sunday night, outside the Banditos Bar. But there's a guy with a cigarette dangling out of his mouth, and he never takes the cigarette out of his mouth while he's trying to talk to the guy to calm down. He's like, got the cigarette in his mouth. Like, calm down, man. It's okay. We got you. And he's leaning over the guy with his cigarette, and I'm like, he just lost an arm to an alligator. Now he's got cigarette ashes falling on him. And then fortunately, the guy was taken to the hospital, and he is expected to survive. The arm, not so much. The gator also will not survive. If they haven't already caught and killed the gator, they will catch and kill the gator. I know that the agents from the Florida Wildlife Commission spent the morning today trying to wrangle that giant gator after the attack. They said it was a 10-foot gator, which as gators go is big. It's not giant, but that is a big gator to be sure. If you're just joining us here on the Joe Kelley Show, we got a number of topics that we have been discussing that you might have missed out on. We're talking about the dangers of social media. As Vivek Murthy, the U.S. Surgeon General now, is calling for immediate action. I don't know where Vivek Murthy was, 5 years ago on this thing, but he's now calling for immediate action on social media. So we're taking your calls from parents and open mics from parents on social media and how you deal with that with your kids. 844-580-WDBO, or use the open mic in the WDBO app. Stephen in Orlando, you're on the Joe Kelley Show. Hi, Stephen.
Hey there. How are you?
Very good, thanks.
Hey, so got a 3-year-old, and I also teach middle school. So I've seen what people are going through.
Bless your heart. Middle school is tough.
Thank you. It's rewarding and challenging at the same time. So on my child, the 3-year-old side, we've flown with her a couple times, and the advice we've gotten is just give your kid a tablet. Give your kid a tablet.
Yep.
But she's never seen a tablet. In fact, the only screen time she gets is about 30 minutes on Saturday, and that's made all the difference. She can be bored, and we're proud of that. She can entertain herself, and we're proud of that. Because I don't want her to end up like some of the other callers saying, like, it's like tearing an arm off, not reference to the Gator story, sorry.
Yeah.
But it's like our phones are a part of us, but even in my classroom, it's hard to get kids to put their phone down. And it's just tough. Like you said, this wasn't an issue years ago, but now it's just crazy to think that it's so hard to get kids to put their phone down.
And Stephen, I think you are a shining example of the right way to do things when it comes to this particular issue, because if they don't get addicted to it in the first place, then it's not going to be a big battle for you when the child gets older, when it comes to taking it away from them or something like that.
True, but we're going to face that all my friends have phones, all my friends get this, so we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, but that'll be another battle once, another bridge or whatever, cross the bridge once we get to it.
And I was always a little surprised that phones are even allowed in the classrooms, but certainly after Columbine and after all the school shootings, I tend to like that there are so many phones inside schools, as it gives kids an opportunity to call for help if need be.
Well, I mean, even at the school I work at in Orange County, we encourage kids to keep their phones in their backpacks, but it's just always a constant struggle. And yeah, I get the whole communication with your parents. Kids always go to I'm just texting my parents. Like that's the new. Oh, that's not new, but that's what they go to. It's just my parents. Don't know about that.
Yeah. It's funny because I will sometimes get text messages from my kids during the school day, and I'm like, "Why are you texting me during school? Go back to class."
Yeah, learn.
Yeah,
please.
And unless it's something,
we're trying. And sorry,
no, I'm just gonna say, unless it's something terrible, don't be texting me.
Exactly, and that's what we encourage as well and push is just phones put away, but it's unfortunately easier said than done in 2023.
And are you allowed to confiscate people's phones, children's phones?
So, yes, there's kind of like a chain of custody. Yes, I am. What I normally say, I'm an instructional coach and a teacher. So I like to say, give me your phone now and I'll give it back to you at the end of the period, or I'll get an administrator who will give it back to you at the end of the day.
Oh, yeah.
That normally works.
Yeah. You show them both the carrot and the stick, or two different lengths of stick. It's either going to be it's either going to hurt a little or it's going to hurt a lot.
Exactly, but some kids are good about it, and other kids they'll go till the depths to keep their phone, and it's crazy.
Yep, I no doubt. Stephen, thank you so much. I appreciate your call, and thanks seriously for being a teacher. I know that there are a shortage of teachers across Central Florida. I know that from my children's own educational experiences, and honestly, I don't know why anybody would want to be a school teacher anywhere. And particularly these days, it just seems like kids are out of control.
I appreciate it. You're right. And some people are just built for it and others get into it. I'm not getting into that, but I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Have a good night, Stephen.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thanks. 844-580-WDBO. It's 844-580-9326. You can use the open mic in the WDBO app. Somebody had a question in the chat room, and I mentioned this just briefly a little while ago on the air, that there is a train, the cargo of which is missing. And it is ammonium nitrate, which was what was used to blow up the Murrah Federal Building in Oklahoma City, and killed 168 people, injured 850 people. But on April 12th, a rail car that was loaded with 30 tons of ammonium nitrate left Cheyenne, Wyoming. Yet when the car arrived at its destination 2 weeks later at a rail stop in the Mojave Desert in California, the rail car was completely empty. Now, the original theory was that the hopper of the rail car, and the hopper is the little device at the bottom underneath the rail car, that the rail car, particularly when they hold things like granular stuff, sand, rocks, coal, they load from the top and unload from the bottom. So they have a hopper that opens up in the bottom and it all comes out. And it's supposed to come out, in a controlled release. So that they've got a massive pile of it under the railroad tracks, like under a railroad track bridge or something like that. And the original theory was that the hopper spilled this over the 2 weeks. And so now there are 60,000 pounds of ammonium nitrate that are on the train tracks from Wyoming to California. But now they say that they are certain that the rail car was sealed when it left the Cheyenne facility, and the seals were still intact when it arrived in California. Oh, no. That's much, much, much worse than it seeping out over the distance of between Wyoming and California. That is a troubling new assessment that it didn't leak through the bottom, and perhaps someone stole 30 tons of ammonium nitrate. And that was why when I saw that U-Haul hit the barrier near the White House this morning, that U-Haul instantly reminded me of Oklahoma City and the ammonium nitrate, and that there's 61,000 pounds of ammonium nitrate unaccounted for in the United States. That is so troubling to me. And how someone could, it seems impossible that someone could steal 61,000 pounds of ammonium nitrate, but they do actually, I don't know if they would in a train, because sometimes they come in these giant bags, but in a train, they would just be in a hopper, so they wouldn't be in any kind of bags. I don't know how you'd steal something like that. Ammonium nitrate is its legitimate purposes as a fertilizer, but it is also used as an explosive. And now we've got, and I did the math on this, and correct me if I'm wrong, but here's the math I did it. So the bomb that blew up the Murrah Federal Building had 4,800 pounds of ammonium nitrate. 4,800, so a little bit less than 5,000 pounds. The ammonium nitrate that's missing now is 61,000 pounds. That is nearly 13 times more ammonium nitrate than what blew up the Murrah Federal Building. Again, assuming my math is correct, and I believe it is. 6:19 the time. My name is Joe Kelley. You can join me at 844-580-WDBO or use the open mic in the WDBO app.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. Your next chance to win the WDBO payroll payout of $1,000 happens tomorrow at 8 a.m. during Orlando's morning news. Just listen for the keyword and then tap the payroll payout button in the WDBO app.
$1,000. $1,000.
Get paid just for listening to WDBO.
This is awesome.
All right, if you're just joining us, we have been talking about cell phone towers, alligators ripping a dude's arm off, the dangers of social media. Let me now add another chocolate chip to the talk radio cookie, as Senator Marco Rubio has slammed the L.A. Dodgers as shameful for re-inviting a Catholic bigot group for Pride Month. And, so if you don't know the story, the Dodgers, June is Pride Month. So if you are troubled, if you're troubled by LGBTQ stuff, you're going to hate June. Okay, so June is Pride Month, and in Pride Month for June, the Dodgers had scheduled, as they had done before, a Pride Month celebration, their June 16th Pride Night. And one of the people that they had invited to participate in their on-field shenanigans is a group called the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, and it is a group of men dressed as women nuns. And after outrage from presumably conservatives, the Dodgers decided to cut them, the Sisters of the Perpetual Indulgence, to cut them from Pride Night event. Then the LGBTQ community got all up in arms about the Dodgers cutting them. So the Dodgers decided to apologize to the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence and re-add them to the Pride Night activities. This is where companies make massive, massive mistakes. If a company is gonna get engaged in that kind of a cultural issue, and that's fine. Companies can do whatever they want to do, and they'll have to face the consequences of their actions. Bud Light is facing the consequences of their actions right now. Target is facing the consequences of their actions right now. And the Dodgers facing the consequences of their actions right now. But if companies want to get involved in social issues, cultural issues, they are ill-advised to reverse course. Because when the Dodgers announced that they were inviting this anti-Catholic group, and again I can't remember, the Sisters of the Perpetual Indulgence. So when the Dodgers decided to invite them, instantly the Dodgers alienated half of America. That's about where the line falls. About half of America is alienated when the Dodgers did that. So when the Dodgers reversed their decision, apologized to the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, and added them back to the Pride Night events, they have now irritated the other half of the population. So congratulations, LA Dodgers. You have managed to make angry 100% of Americans. It's the exact same thing that Bud Light did to themselves. Bud Light goes out there and makes a can for Dylan Mulvaney, and they get instant blowback from conservative beer drinkers and male beer drinkers and otherwise Bud Light drinkers, and their sales have been off ever since. But instead of standing by their decision, Bud Light has wiggled it back. They've not denounced Dylan Mulvaney or the move to honor Dylan Mulvaney, but they have since disowned Dylan Mulvaney and fired the marketing quote-unquote experts who came up with the idea. So now Bud Light is not only the pariah of conservative America, but now they've fall out of favor with the LGBTQ community. They've done the same thing with the Dodgers. Make a decision, stick to it, or stay out of social and cultural issues altogether. I'm Joe Kelley. You can call me now, 844-580-WDBO.
This is WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's news and talk. Orange, Seminole, Osceola, and all of Central Florida. Join the conversation now by using the open mic in the WDBO app. Now, the Joe Kelley Show on Orlando's news and talk, WDBO.
Now, by this time tomorrow night, we should be well into the Twitter video feed of Governor DeSantis, along with Elon Musk and a third person, David Sachs. He's going to be moderating this. But tomorrow night at 6 p.m., we're told, Governor DeSantis is going to be part of a live video stream on Twitter in which he's announcing that he'll run for president. Elon Musk has 117 million followers. I wonder how many of those followers are bots and aren't real, or that he paid for the followers. Seeing that he paid, $44 billion for Twitter, he paid for all those followers. But he's got a huge audience, and something like this has not been done on the presidential level of a live video announcing your candidacy. If you have comments, remarks about DeSantis and him getting into the race, I'd love to hear that at 844-580-WDBO, or use the open mic in the WDBO app. David Sachs is a tech entrepreneur who is an Elon Musk confidant and a Ron DeSantis supporter. Elon Musk, for his part, has previously said that Ron DeSantis should run for president, and he has been an admirer of Ron DeSantis. But Musk says that for tomorrow night's purposes, he will not be endorsing Ron DeSantis. But I think giving him a platform on Twitter like that is kind of of an implied endorsement, right? There's a little bit of an endorsement there. This as the Biden campaign, according to a report, the Biden campaign will paint DeSantis' conservative agenda as a threat to America. And with the help of the liberal mainstream media, he will probably be able to successfully paint him into that box, into that corner. The Biden administration is saying that they would rather run against Donald Trump. I never believe what any politician says when it comes to that kind of a comment, that they would rather run against Donald Trump than Ron DeSantis. Sometimes they will say things that are the opposite of what they actually mean. Let's go to Mascot. I'm sure it's been raining out in Mascot all day, where Beth is joining us here on WDBO. Hi, Beth.
Hey, Joe.
How are you?
It's Beth from Fact. I'm okay. Listen, I was just listening to the teacher that came on, and, I have a 14-year-old, and if you go back to when they stopped going to school for COVID, they started all of this giving out Chromebooks.
Yeah.
So these kids are on these Chromebooks now, and that's where a lot of it came from, because I have a 14-year-old that I watched go on things on those Chromebooks. So why don't we get back to books and paper and get these kids off of computers even during school?
Yeah, it's interesting, Beth, because I had bought my daughter. I thought it was being so cool. And I bought my daughter a Chromebook, and she was like, Dad, I already have one. The school gave me one. I'm like, oh. So now I have that Chromebook. And I got her something else, but I own that a Chromebook now that I rarely use. But that is why I ended up getting that. Beth, thank you so much for sharing that. That's a really, really good point there. I don't know if you guys heard this. Joe Biden at the G6 in Tokyo, G7. I'm thinking the G6, that's the airplane, right? The G7 in Tokyo. This is, and I will have to give it the asterisk, a caveat of, I wasn't there to watch him say this, but I have every reason to believe that this is real audio/video and that this is not AI or some sort of deep fake. This is Joe Biden in Tokyo, unedited. Listen to the mess that is this guy. Hang on, I think I've got an audio source up somewhere.
You moron.
Yeah, hang on. I've got an audio. Who's got an audio? Oh, thank you. Now I know what it is. Yep. Okay. Very good. Thank you, Laurel. Good job. All right. So this is Joe Biden at the G7.
And there's a lot of other, for example, the idea that we're, in terms of taxes, that they refuse to, for example, I was able to balance the budget and pass everything from the global warming bill. Anyway, I was able to cut by $1.7 billion in the first 2 years the deficit that we were accumulating. And because I was able to say to it that the 55 corporations in America that made $400 billion, or $40 billion, $400 billion, that they pay zero in tax, zero.
Obviously, I could play you hours and hours of mumbly audio from President Biden. You hear it all the time on the Sean Hannity show. It is just embarrassing. I hate to say this, but I'm embarrassed for the United States when Joe Biden speaks publicly somewhere, anywhere. I'm embarrassed. I don't even like to say these words out loud. I'm embarrassed to be an American. Joe Biden embarrasses me. I don't care who beats Joe Biden at this point, as long as somebody beats Joe Biden. I don't care if it's Donald Trump. I don't care if it's Ron DeSantis. I don't care if it's Tim Scott. I don't care if it's Larry Elder. I don't care who it is. But this guy cannot be allowed to lead this country anymore. I would say starting today. But of course, let's start with the election. And he should never have been elected. Just on his mental competency alone. Forget about politics. This is elder abuse, what they're doing to Joe Biden. It's elder abuse, what they're doing to Dianne Feinstein. It's elder abuse. And it's sad and pathetic, and someone should step in and do something about this, because this guy is embarrassing himself. He's embarrassing the United States, and yet the people behind the scenes are manipulating him. The people behind the scenes are propping him up. It is like a perpetual weekend at Bernie's with our president. Yes, he is alive, but barely. I mean, at least with Bernie, you had total control over him. With Joe Biden, you never know what's going to happen. And he is just a perpetual embarrassment for this country and should not be in the position that he is in. So my vote goes to any Republican who is going to beat Joe Biden. And if that's Donald Trump, then so be it. If it's Ron DeSantis, so be it. I don't care. If it is the local dog catcher, so be it. It's got to be somebody other than Joe Biden as our president of the United States. 844-580-WDBO. 844-580-9326. You can use the open mic in the WDBO app.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. This is WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's news and talk.
One of my favorite open micers.
Unbelievable that you haven't said those words, that you're embarrassed to be an American and all that BS that you just said over there about Trump. But because this guy can speak a little bit, but he have cut the deficit, unemployment on the lowest, and the whole thing, and only you guys speaking otherwise, but you feel embarrassed, and you wish Trump would beat him, a traitor, a psychopath like Trump.
There's a lot to unpack there. I have similarly been embarrassed by Donald Trump. There have been so many moments of Donald Trump's that I am embarrassed for him and I'm embarrassed for our country. I know a lot of it happened when he was a candidate, but the grabbing a girl by the thing, the mocking the handicapped guy, Donald Trump is far, far from perfect. And he, I'm sure, if elected again, will have moments where he is embarrassing to me and to himself.
Mr. Kelley, wouldn't it be nice if you were kingmaker and you could decide who the next president was going to be? This clown that you've been speaking of, who can't even put two sentences together, leading what's supposed to be the greatest nation on the face of the earth. You're right. It's embarrassing.
Let's go to John in Castleberry here on the Joe Kelley Show. Hi, John.
How you doing this evening, sir? Every time you speak, you hit it right on the head of the nail. I tell you one thing about you.
Well, thank you.
What you said is true. Why did we put him there in the first place? And what your other recording guy said, of course, Trump is bad. Of course, everybody says that. But you know one thing about it, sir? I'll tell you one thing. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if I'll take up too much of your time, and I hope I don't. But Trump put the country in place. Biden didn't. And Biden, as the vice president he has, laughing hyena, I call her, okay? Both of them don't belong in office. And what you said earlier was that you don't care who gets elected, but it's somebody better than Biden. So I just want to send that out to you, sir.
I'm sorry, is that something that you agree with?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anybody else but Biden. I don't.
Yeah, anybody
he
but.
Doesn't belong.
Right. When they talk about a generic ballot, they'll say Joe Biden versus the generic Republican. In that case, I would endorse the generic Republican. Whatever Republican is going to be able to beat Joe Biden is the Republican that I will support and endorse.
Joe Biden doesn't embarrass me, being our president. The people that elected him embarrass me. I feel sad for it. But anyways, we still have a good future, man. It's America. And we'll be out of this mess here shortly, hopefully.
Well, that is a good open mic to leave this discussion on. Thank you very much for that. My name is Joe Kelley. You can always check out the Joe Kelley Show podcast wherever you get your podcasts. It always posts right after the show. If you missed anything or if you have any highlights that you wanted to listen to again or keep again, you can check it out. Just look for the Joe Kelley Show podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Coming up next, it is the third hour of the Sean Hannity Show.